Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Time for another Metal Earth kit build. One that I've been waiting quite some time for. There's some more Star Wars kits, and today I'm putting together C-3PO in all his gold glory. It's kind of a heavy feeling kit, but it's only 2 sheets. So I don't know if maybe the gold is a bit more dense. But let's open this up and see what's inside. C-3PO. Been waiting on this one. I keep saying that a lot, I know. But I remember putting the link at the end of, I believe it was the Iconics Millennium Falcon video, that this was coming up. I've been waiting on it. So what do we have inside? Directions, of course. And it's 2 pieces. Looks like they may be a alternative build here. Curious. And we have metal sheets, and these seem to be a little bit heavier than the usual, and I did notice they are not magnetic. Not that that's a big shot, but that indicates they're a different metal instead of just a different color, which is fine. Just thought it interesting. Let's slide this to the side. I don't believe I've done any full golden models yet. Just a little bit of golden Iron Man. Open. Okay. We have the usual Metal Earth title, the line drawing of C-3PO. We have the bit about insertion tabs, insertion holes, folds, fold lines, so on and so forth. The usual needle nose pliers are helpful for assembly. The usual legend. The blue circle means to bend a tab over 90 degrees. The green triangle means to twist it 90 degrees. And then we have this newer legend, which is actually labeled legend. M for mirror finish. I don't believe I've seen that before. E for engraved or color side. NE for non-engraved side, non-color side. Which I believe in this case, non-color side is irrelevant. And then an attention point. I think this usually points at some sort of directions or instructions. You know, hey, do this part first, or don't forget that. And it's nice that they've put little tips in there. Basically, that points to tips, from what I've seen. And then we have the metal sheets. Of course. The actual sheets, and then the layout of the sheets with all the appropriate numbers so you can find the individual parts. And if we put that aside and slide over to page 2, you have the start of the assembly flowchart, starting as usual with part 1, 2, 3, and this kind of shows you how to shape it, shape this part and put them together, shape this part and just keep building. There's an E for engraved side, pointing to that right there, so you know that you bend this so that that engraved side is facing up. And 1 hole. So that's interesting. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I may find out when I get closer to it. And you just follow the arrows down through, get to the bottom, flip it over, page 3, continue on with the flowchart, building the kit. Slide into page 4. Follow the arrows and the numbers. Done with that. Move on to the second sheet of paper. And this is not hard to figure out, I know. But I go over it anyway. And 7 and 8. That is 5 and 6. Here we go. Move to page 5. Follow along. Follow the arrows. Page 6. Continue. Display option 1. Interesting. I think I may have to get another kit for this, which they're already sold out from what I understand. So this looks like it has C-3PO's face. And we flip over to 7. It shows the rest of the assembly, and there you've got 3PO. Display option 2, it looks like a battle droid head. So that's an interesting little twist. And you apparently can actually assemble this with a golden battle droid head. Now it might have been a little bit more interesting if the gold head, or if the droid head had a different color to it, but yeah. Tools that I will use in this build. I have my standard set of tools. We have the long needle nose pliers. We have the flat nose pliers, great for a multitude of bending and twisting and grabbing. We have clippers. Absolutely have to have clippers. It helps get the parts off the trees quite easily. I have a set of precision tweezers, with one with very pointed end, one has had the pointed end ground down slightly, and a flat set. And I have a fairly standard set of tweezers that actually came in one of the Iconics kits that I bought. When it comes to shaping parts, I have an assortment of different things to use. I have dowel rods that I've used for quite some time. A couple of them have had the ends sharpened with a pencil sharpener, which are great for making cone shapes. I have a inexpensive drill bit set with a lot of different sized bits to help with forming cylinder shapes. I also have a couple of step mandrels. I'm not saying you need all of this, but these are different tools that I've acquired, and I kind of go back and forth depending on the situation. Something else that's good for shaping, I've got some round nose or ring pliers that have rounded noses on the tip, and you can use these to slowly curve different areas wherever you need to, irregular curves, back and forth. These are great for minor little detailed shaping. I've got the instructions, the metal sheets, some tools. I think I'm going to do this as C-3PO and not the alternative head, although I may do that later. Let's get building. I was originally hesitant to fold down the sides on part 1 because the sides were so close to the slots. I was thinking I should attach part 2 first, twist the tabs, and then fold down the sides. However, I would not be able to access the tabs on the sides once the top of the foot was on. Make sure you pay attention to which side has one slot and which side has two and where they go. Up until this point, the instructions had clearly indicated which side faced out. It did not say for part 10, and it was not clear what the arrow was for. The arrow indicates the outside of the knee, not the inside. The inside is unengraved. It helped to bend one of the tabs in slightly to attach part 14. I bent the two tabs on one side of the knee out at right angles. The single tab I did not bend as far so it would more easily line up with its slot. It also helped to bend one of the two tabs up a little more than 90 degrees so the slot could slide over it. It's a tight fit. Some of these harder to reach tabs I decided to fold over instead of twist. Many of these tabs were in tight places. I used my thin pointed tweezers to bend the tab out a little so I could get at them with the set that I'd ground down a little. The really thin ones do not hold tightly and do not twist tabs well. Make sure you bend these tabs over or they will get in the way of the leg fitting together. Some areas are just difficult and take several tries. Other places just require some patient shaping. There really wasn't much room to twist the tabs inside of the inside area, so I just bent the tab up and twisted it. With the elbow joint, I bent the inner tab at an angle and worked it into its slot, rotated it up and pushed the outer tab into its slot, and then bent it over. I had trouble getting part 32 on because the twisted tabs were getting in the way. I went back and folded them over and solved the problem. It took me a long time to put on part 32. I was worried about placing it right. I accidentally tried to put it on backwards at first. Then I was uncertain as to which slot to position it into for fear that the arm would not line up. I finally realized it only goes on one way. I forgot to attach part 35 before closing the arm, so I bent the tabs in opposite directions of each other. It held fairly well. Remembering the problems I had with the first arm, I decided to fold over these tabs. This video has been edited down. I've not shown all the different attempts, adjustments, or retries of this build. I also clip out parts where I am studying directions, searching for and clipping parts, and sometimes repetitive steps. It may make this kit look like it comes together easier than it did, but there are a lot of bending and adjusting of parts to make things fit. Work slowly, be patient, and take your time. I tried to twist and bend the tabs and back as best I could. I could not get to them easily, but I am pretty sure I pushed, pulled, twisted, and mangled them well enough they're not coming back out. It took over 10 minutes to get the front half of C-3PO's face shaped and fitted into place. There was a little antenna type thing sticking out of the top of 3PO's head, but it pretty much broke and fell off really easy. The backside of his head went on much quicker and easier. This kit took a little longer than the past few I've done. I was able to finish it in just under 4 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, C-3PO in his golden glory. This kit was easier than I expected a little bit. It was not as difficult as I was worried it would be. It's very much like Iron Man or War Machine because you're building arms and legs and body and torso. And there are a lot of similarities about the way they come together, but this is just not quite to the level or difficulty as Iron Man or War Machine. Just takes time, careful attention, and patience. Not that the rest of them don't, but this one is kind of up there because it's so easy when you're doing a body to put the arms and legs on the wrong way unless they're all standing perfectly straight. And he's got one hand up and one arm out and down, and that could get mixed up. And so I was very, very careful to try not to mix that up. I was very careful to put some of these side pieces together so that I don't put legs and arms on the wrong way. And in the end, I did pretty good. I made one mistake that I've caught so far, where I put a part, started to fold it the wrong way, but I fixed it. And fortunately nothing broke. There was a little bit of a tab up here on top of his head that got bent over and broke off. So one tiny little thing. He's not quite as tall as Iron Man, but pretty close. He is bigger than R2-D2, and I'll show a little picture of the two of them side by side. Very pleased that it wasn't a super challenging build, and it come together wonderfully. It looks wonderful. It was an easier Star Wars kit. Not as easy as Millennium Falcon, not one of the easiest ones, but it's not one of the harder ones. I think I would say C-3PO was easier than the AT-ST Walker, because the legs on that are just a pain in the butt. And easier than the TIE Fighters, because that center ball is such a pain. Now there's an alternative way to build the C-3PO kit. Instead of using his normal head, it also comes with the head of a battle droid, and you could put that on there. I'm guessing from the episode where he and R2 go to the factory and C-3PO gets his head knocked off, and one of these gets put on. Now it's possible you could put this instead. I did not build mine with this head, although I did shape and construct it just for anybody who's curious to see how that's done. What I'm going to do is that segment, I'll make a separate small video, and I'll put a link up above if you want to see how that head is built. And as far as it plugs in, how does it fit to C-3PO, there is a plate that the head goes to. Instead of putting the head with a circular part on there, there's some slots in the middle, and this goes in, and you'll kind of see if you've got the kit. But if you're curious to just know how this part's put together, check out that other video, and I will put that up. There is going to be another kit coming out from what I can see on the Fashion Nation's website, where they're going to have R2-D2 and C-3PO together on a stand, and it looks like they're going to have colors to them like the TARDIS, where it's painted on. So that's something to look forward to. And yes, I'm going to have to get that and redo them all completely. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.
Classified, really? Me too. Big secret. No!